Sam Walker, thanks very much, and welcome everybody to the Sam McKee Memorial Broadcast Set. I'm Dave Little, and this is In the Sulky. My guest tonight is the man from Oz, or should I say, the boy from Oz. 25-year-old James Herbertson is in town from Australia, and he's going to be with us, I don't know, for 4 or 5 weeks. Is that the idea?
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks, and then we'll spend about 3 weeks in Sweden after that, and then head home.
Now, you've had a lot of success racing in your native Australia. Get right to the point. How did you end up here for this week? I know that there was Mark Weaver was involved, and now you're hooked up to Ron Burke. How did that all get underway?
So I drive a bit for Jamie Dernberger Smith of Summit Bloodstock back home, and he owns a few horses with Ronnie and Mark, and I met Mark in Queensland when Yannick came across for the Ultimate Drivers Championship, and sort of started the connection there, and ever since then Mark's done everything that he possibly can to get me here and get a good experience.
Now, I'm assuming, since you're an Australian, that you know very well Andy and Todd McCarthy and Lauren Tritton. Tell me about any associations you might have had with them in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, well, Toddy's been gone for a few years. You've had the pleasure of having him here for quite a while now, and I knew Todd when I was younger, and I'm good mates with his brother Luke. Andy left before I started driving, and I'd had a bit to do with Shane and Lauren through the years, as they'd come down to Victoria and that. So, a few connections there for sure.
So how long are you going to stay in the States?
Another probably 3 weeks.
Now, you're going to be here for another 3 weeks. What fact-finding mission are you on? Are you thinking about maybe down the road relocating?
Oh, look, you got to keep your options open. I'm not tied down too much. The racing at home isn't absolutely flying, and you've just got to keep your options open, I guess. And, everyone that you speak to that ever comes across to America never has a bad thing to say about the racing and everything you can learn. So I come over here on it with an open mind and to learn as much as possible.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your resume, something that I put together called Herbertson's Highlights. Now, like I said, first and foremost, 25 years of age. But in Australia, they start them pretty young. My wife was helping me look up some roll-ins to talk about your racing, and I found a race from 7 years ago. I said, well, this can't be James. He's only 18 years old. But indeed, in Australia, they do have young drivers divisions, don't they?
Yeah, they do. We have a really good system for the young drivers. You get a concession claim to get horses back into an easier class, and it's a really good stepping stone for young drivers coming out of qualifiers. And I was always blessed with a lot of opportunity, and I managed to win my first race drive on a horse of my old man's at Terang, and I thought it was pretty easy to start with, but it got a lot harder very quickly.
So 1,550 career wins. Is your career trajectory ahead of schedule as far as you're concerned?
Oh, absolutely. The last 3 or 4 years has been monumental, really. Last year was incredible. Just kept raising the bar and was able to pick up some really good races and a lot of winners on the board, and it was a real highlight for sure.
All right, let's run something of your highlight reel. We're going to take a look at footage from Harness Racing Victoria, the Breeders' Crown in Australia. And here you are racing on the front end with On Chauffeur. And this horse actually goes wire to wire in this race, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a lovely 2-year-old trotter. He's now 3. Massive motor. I think he ran a 55 back half at the end of 2,200 metres. So, he's got a huge future going forward, and it was a pleasure to sit behind him.
Now, do those races, do they go at a flat mile, or do you go all kinds of different distances?
Yeah, we race sort of half and half. Half over 2,200 or 2,100, and the rest over a mile or 1,700. So we have a bit of a mixture, and the horses have to be able to adapt, and you have to adapt your driving style as well.
I noticed, as compared to maybe Sweden, I thought that where they race parked for a lot of the mile. I saw in Australia, especially that footage that we just saw, the races are conducted rather similarly to they are here in the States, aren't they?
Yeah, in a way. There's a lot of structure to the racing at home. It becomes very tactical, very tempo related, and you very rarely see horses win first over the trip here. At home, it happens quite a lot. It's nothing out of the ordinary for even myself just to send one around to sit parked. The last 1,000 or last mile if it's over a longer trip, and tough it out. The racing isn't as a higher tempo, but with that, the tactics come into it a lot more.
So what are the major differences? You haven't had a lot of work here, but you have sat behind a good horse. We'll get to that in a minute. What is the biggest tactical difference that you found here racing in the States as compared to Australia?
Oh, just the racing's chalk and cheese, really. The miles are so hard here. You know, they don't really come up for air. It's just sort of go as hard as you can for as long as you can in a way.
Go, right.
So that was a real eye opener, and it was a real sort of shock to the system, really, trying to get horses to be able to do that. And as I said, it's just completely different to home.
Yeah, people don't realize how tough it is because you're adjusting to a new way of racing, and obviously you're not familiar with the horses, you're not familiar with the circumference of the racetracks, so it really is just a whole brand new thing, and it's hard to adjust in a short amount of time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've had probably over 10,000 drives, and this is like starting fresh again. The horses are completely different, the way they travel, the way they feel. The bikes are different, they're shorter and wider. It's really absolutely chalk and cheese.
Now, in last night's 14th race, we're going to take a look at a roll-in. As I told you before we went on camera, James, you were cutting it kind of close getting your first win here in the States. And, of course, I loved Ever M on the front end with Mark Hirschberger, but Jim Pantoliano not being here helped James get the drive with Select Friday, and Select Friday explodes home. Here you can see on the far outside. What are you thinking right here? I have a chance to win?
Oh, well, there was a lot of thoughts going through my mind before even that last furlong. Around the turn, he wasn't really keeping on the bridle too well. We were gapping out a little bit, and that last 200, it was just a little bit of divine intervention come into it, and he sprouted wings and finished home strong.
Yeah, so it must have felt nice to get a win in the States, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was getting to the point where I was like, am I even going to be able to win one here, really? A lot of seconds and thirds, and had enough power here and there, but just hadn't had everything go my way. So, fortunately enough, that one worked out. I'd
be remiss if I didn't ask you about Ronnie Burke put you up on Lexus Cody each of his last two starts. He's a hell of a trotter, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Again, he's a much different horse to what you're used to at home. He's sort of horse you have to roll the whole way, and I've probably been going a little bit slow on him. And he's been racing against Outside the Fire, who's just absolutely airborne at the moment. And he's beat him his last two starts, but I know Lexus Cody's had he's got a little bit of a bad reputation in terms of his manners, but he's been really good with me so far, fortunately enough, and I'm sure he'll pick one up soon.
You're going to go from here to Sweden. What's the objective visiting there?
So I won a Young Guns series on New Year's Eve in Victoria, and the prize was a trip to Sweden for 2 weeks. So with Jorgen Westholm, and we'll go over there and train a few with him and learn a lot. It's while the Elite Lop's on, so that'll be a great experience. I went when I was younger and had a time of my life, but to be able to go as an adult now, it'll be just different gravy. It's an Australian saying, Mark. Dave, sorry.
You got to tell me what it means, James.
It's just, it'll be out of this world, really.
Somebody told me this morning that you were a ripper bloke, but I don't know if that's good or bad. That's the problem.
It's not bad. I've been called worse. But, look, it's a great experience, and very fortunate with Harness Race Victoria to put that up, and be fortunate enough to be going is a great experience, really.
James, before I let you go, we have to change gears a little bit here. We awoke this morning to the very, very tragic news that one of the best horsemen in Australia, Greg Sugars, passed away overnight. And I didn't realize it until about 20 minutes ago, talking to you, that he was a great friend of yours. Tell us about Greg and his wife and the effect that they had on Australian racing.
Yeah, Greg, he's regarded as one of the best for a reason. His horsemanship, the man he was, when I say that he was like my second parents, I really mean it. And he took me under his wing, and he sort of made me into the driver that I am today. And I have it all due to him, and I really miss him.
64 Grade 1 wins. This is a serious harness driver, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's regarded as one of the best, and he truly was as a trainer, as a driver, and as a human being. So. It's a big loss, and I know back home everyone's just numb, and it's a really sad time.
Well, all of us here at the Meadowlands send our heartfelt condolences out to Greg's family, his wife, and I know that he had a dog that he really loved too, didn't he?
Yeah, they just got little Harvey, and really feel for Jess. His truck's gonna be rolling in back from Menangle with the horses, and unfortunately Greg won't be getting out, but sometimes these things happen in life, and we'll remember him for the many years.
Yeah, well, a very, very sad day for all of us in harness racing at the passing of young Greg Sugars, just 40 years of age. So, James, I want to thank you very much for speaking so nicely about your friend and for coming on with us. I want to bid you much success in the next couple of weeks and, of course, down the road in your harness racing career.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
That's James Herbertson, and we thank him very much for spending a few minutes with us in the Sulky. I'm going to take a 60-second timeout. James is going to get to work. He's going to drive Finite in tonight's 7th race for Ron Burke. Jessica Otten will jump in that seat, and we'll talk about tonight's featured action.